Well, I already feel like crap. Might as well make it worse. War Pugs. So, this is actually something that I've been looking forward to for some time. I am really proud of my community. I have been proud of my community for as long as I realized I had one. And there has been someone in the community start up their own YouTube channel. Now, I've watched this channel. I have, there's been a couple of people actually. I know I have some people that have become voice actors within the community. And I encourage anybody that is wanting to start off to, reach out and talk to me. Now, here's the thing. One or two of you is going to be a heretic. And, I understand that. It's my job to try to get you to come back to the light and nuke you if necessary to keep you in line. One of those people is actually proud to be a heretic. It's Hatter the Proud Heretic. And he likes the Tau. There's got to be some form of therapy we can get him in. Some, with tasers involved to get this disease sorted out. But he put out something called Tau Can Be Grimdark. Now, this is a channel that I've been wanting to check out for some time now. And I finally am going to sit down and do it because, well, I feel like crap. And one or two things is going to happen. I'm going to feel worse at the end of this, or... yeah. No, I'm kidding, guys. Guys, this is something that, for me, is really amazing to do. Because I remember when I first saw certain people within the community doing their own things. I remember when people messaged me about certain things. And this particular channel, I remember the first time that I saw a video in the suggestion, not the suggestions, but the promote yourself links. And I was like, well, that's kind of cool. That's kind of cool. Guys, go subscribe to the Hatter, especially if you like Tau stuff. I will not judge you harshly, overzealously. Let's get into this. The Tau Can Be Grimdark.
The Tau get a lot of flack for being the weakest faction in Warhammer 40k, especially the lack of Grimdark element people keep screaming about.
That was insanely accurate. That's the reason they get a lot of the hate that they do now. The reason the Tau get a lot of the hate they do now is based off the way they were introduced. When they were introduced, they were insanely noble bright. And there were no... It was like, this faction simply doesn't belong in 40k, because 40k up until that point had been all manners of shades of gray to flat out just dark. But this faction was introduced and it was like, where's the problems? Now, they have corrected this issue in a good many ways with the Ethereals, with the Commander Farsight, and now they have the faction, the Farsight Enclaves, which has fundamentally changed the faction in terms of introducing that. Really fundamentally changed the faction as it was seen. Now, there is a quote-unquote good, or at least at the very bare minimum, neutral faction, but there is a reason behind it. But anyhow.
They look too clean. Their ideology isn't oppressive enough. Ethereals don't have enough of those damn pheromones. Female Tau are too sexy.
No, they're not.
Well, maybe they don't say that last bit, but you get...
Heretic.
My point. What if I told you that Tau can be grimdark? In fact, Tau can be quite horrifying enemy to face, and that writers of Black Library missed the great potential of this faction. That the Tau can be a foe that is truly terrifying. Before we begin, remember to like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell, the whole shtick. You know what to do. If you can, support me on Patreon, Ko-fi, or Buy Me Coffee. I would appreciate it.
All in the description below,
much.
guys.
With that out of the way, let's dive right in. I think people miss the enormous potential of a Tau as a scary or even terrifying enemy. And the reason why is obvious. Tau offer a different type of horror than other factions in 40k. They aren't the great hordes of orcs that care only for war and bloodshed, or armies of corrupted traitors to humanity, swarms of bioengineered monsters, or sadistic Drukhari. They don't have charismatic leaders in magnificent armors, covered in skulls and skin of their enemies, that monologue about faults of mankind or their own sick ambitions.
The Tau have been very underutilized as a source of horror. And no, you cannot make a Tau as terrifying as a Chaos Lord or a Tyranid Swarm or anything like that. Ideologically, though, the Tau can be very terrifying because of what goes on in the shadows. Because of what they actually will do. Now, the Tau in and of themselves, as they have been fleshed out, because when they were introduced, like I said, they were a shining star in the night sky, and it was ridiculous. But as more and more of their culture and society got fleshed out, there turned out to be this dark undertone that's hidden underneath this bright exterior. And the problem is we have not had that properly explored yet. The Tau can be absolutely horrifying if you look at them through the correct lens.
No. The Tau offer the horror of facing a truly pragmatic and technologically advanced enemy. People forget that Tau are pragmatic by nature, ruthlessly pragmatic even. Psychological warfare is something they are well aware of.
Oh yeah.
They care little about honor or accusations of cowardice.
True.
They are here to do their job. You are simply in their way. Cast your mind, if you can, to Operation Desert Storm.
Okay.
How Americans misdirected Iraqi's intelligence services, how they cut their communications, how American Air Force ripped apart airfields and military bases, how American tanks punched through defensive lines and with relative ease achieved one of the most impressive military victories in the world's history. And now understand this. When Imperial Guard faces Tau, the Guard aren't Americans, they are Iraqis. Watercast organizes great misdirections that fool Imperial intelligence, ensuring that Guard is out of position. You can be more than sure that High Command have a few rats who communicate what they know to the damn Xenos. Undetectable missiles destroy your artillery support, and Xenotanks you can't see turn yours into scrap metal. Your enemy is faster than you, has better comms, knows where you are, how you move, has invisible units behind your lines, and hunts your commanders, drones that are hard to spot and can show up any minute. Great propaganda videos of defeats, surrenders, desertion, or even defection of people that were your allies are displayed in form of massive holograms in the night sky.
Yep.
Music and proposition of surrender and better life reach your ears when you try to rest. Your commanders grow more and more paranoid, looking for as much as suggestion of doubt in your eyes, even after the damnable Xenos made sure to keep you awake the last 4 nights in the row by sending drones playing certain frequencies that make human instinct go wild.
See, this is not. This is actually fairly accurate to the way the Tau fight. This is fairly accurate to the way the Tau fight. The Tau will use any method they can get their hands on, and when you're fighting the Tau, you're like, the Tau have not reached the point in their civilization yet where they've encountered the problem of power creep. And that is why they are so powerful as it stands, because the entire Tau Empire does not equal Ophelia 7 in terms of population. It just doesn't even come close. But with their industrial output, they're able to outfit their troops so much better than anything the Imperium is going to see on a standard line. Even regiments of, even what you would consider a regiment of renown, a specialized regiment like the Harakani Warhawks. The Harakani Warhawks are going to have equipment, even like that's completely outclassed. And the reason behind that is pure power creep. Now, he's completely accurate. Everything that he talks about the Tau doing, the United States did to Iraq during Desert Storm. And if you aren't familiar with Desert Storm, the Iraq army was the fourth largest on the planet at the time of Desert Storm. And when the United States and the coalition went in, because it wasn't all the United States, the Iraq army was completely neutralized inside of 100 hours. It was completely neutralized. They were flying bombers over, dropping pamphlets. The Iraqis would see drones coming overhead and they would surrender outright because of because they knew what was going to happen if they didn't. They knew what was going to happen if they didn't, because if you see that drone fly overhead, you throw your rifle to the ground and hold your hands up and just wait for somebody to come to you to accept your surrender, because otherwise what's going to happen is in about 4 or 5 minutes, there's going to be a whistle, and then there's going to be nothing because you're going to be gone.
The Tau won't deploy monstrous machines nor summon demons from the warp, but they can break a mortal warrior in more ways than one.
Mm-hmm.
What about Astartes, the mighty angels of death? Surely those super soldiers can overcome the upstart Xenos. Sure, if they got close enough. Tau don't share a human sense of honor. They would come close and face Astartes in melee combat. Not to mention that crisis battlesuits, the most basic of them all, are more than enough of a challenge for a Space Marine. And unlike Space Marines, they are a commonplace. Deployment of 1,000 crisis suits isn't anything out of ordinary for the Tau. Can a Space Marine destroy a crisis suit?
Yeah.
Yes. Can they destroy 5 of them? Probably not. Not to mention, Tau adapt to new foes and develop special weapons to deal with them. Rail rifles that can kill an Astartes with a single shot are bad enough. But what if Tau will pragmatically focus on targeting apothecaries or other specialists? Space Marines, for the most part, aren't known for subtlety.
No.
They are medieval knights in power armor, which is cool and works just fine against enemies who, for some reason, put a lot of value on melee combat. But Tau? Tau do not care. Space Marines are impressive, sure, but how will they deal with a dozen of suicide drones supported by shield drones?
Now, here's the issue with saying this, okay? The crisis suits are something that the Imperium has fought things like this before. On a great many occasions. This is nothing new. As far as melee combat is concerned, we're looking at more of a situation where you've got to remember how fast Space Marines actually move and how quick their reaction time is. And this is something the Tau cannot really come to grips with in terms of what they can do. In fact, it's kind of a situation where they have to actually, in order to combat Space Marines, they have to do kind of what the Imperial Guard does when they run into Chaos Space Marines, which is just literally to throw as much artillery on top of them as they can possibly bring to bear. As much suppressing fire and as much, just put as much weaponry in the air as they can. Because while a crisis suit, even 5 crisis suits, is more than a formidable challenge, it's not something that your average Space Marine is really, really going to be considering a mortal danger. Now, when you start looking at how many they can bring, it's very much different in that regard.
We know that your armor is 1000 years old and was worn by the last champion of your chapter. However, you are currently inside a force field with 20 suicide drones equipped with fusion charges. We hope you don't mind that we will melt your armor, flesh, and bone. Forget the stealth fields that make Tau invisible, long-range weaponry that allows them to kill you and your friends long before you see them, or even their impressive mobility that allows them to escape before you can respond. Drones.
Drones are a monster.
Truly terrifying potential.
Oh yeah.
We see it in the current conflict in Ukraine. What modified civilian drones can accomplish. Now imagine the same basic idea, but created by Tau and for military purpose. I know we all love Death Corps of Krieg, our beloved shovel guys. But I have a strange feeling that their idea of dying for the Emperor didn't include mass-produced drones dropping grenades to their trenches or showering them with liquid flame. With mechanical...
I got a feeling if you started telling a whole bunch of Death Corps guys they could go die for the Emperor pretty much anywhere, they'd be partying about it.
Because you can explore the horror of them facing Tau artificial intelligence, the reflection of Men of Iron from Cybernetic Revolt. A distant image, for sure, but still. Cybernetic Revolt is the source of great fear and terror for the machine cult. This can be explored. The vision that this Xenos AI will follow in the footsteps of human AI, or worse.
I don't think this is something the Mechanicus would actively be upset about if the Tau went too far with AI. They would view it as the abomination of a foul Xenos race finally coming back and giving them their comeuppance.
That it won't. That Tau will succeed where humanity has failed and create long-lasting relation with their AI. Imperial Knights and Titans? I already spoke about missile, artillery, and Air Force. Yes, void shields are impressive, but just imagine, if you will, Manta. But rather than tanks and infantry, all that space is full of specialized missiles. The horror of inglorious death, the god machines felled by mass-produced missiles fired by a dozen to overwhelm their shields and cut them enough times before they die. Or maybe we could use drones once again. Titan marches towards the battlefield, when suddenly dozens of sizable drones pop out of the ground, fly to it, attach themselves to the weak points, and then blow up. Or maybe Tau could get something similar to Buzz Droid from Star Wars.
Oh god, no.
A drone designed to disassemble enemy vehicles, crawling through vents, and
I don't see this right here, Buzz Droids. I hated Buzz Droids in Star Wars. It was when I sat down to watch Attack of the Clones and these things popped up on the screen and the stupid little sounds they made and I was just so like, is this a toddler's fantasy? Like, me. Okay, great. That's just great. And this is supposed to be a very high tense situation. And I feel like somebody had just ripped the audio of somebody trying to make a baby smile and put it on something that's supposed to be threatening.
Maintenance corridors. Death by 1,000 cuts. The God Machine felled by a swarm of flies. The horror of unfair, inglorious, and cruel death. There is a great potential for horror with drones.
Oh yeah.
Drones are pragmatic, practical, impersonal. We can see our beloved heroes bleed on the ground before a drone shows up and finishes them off with a single shot. The drone wasn't even controlled directly. It was just following basic programming. Felt no malice while accomplishing its task. How terrifying is that? Warhammer 40k prides itself on the monsters that roar their hatred, that use poisons that melt flesh, the psychic powers that corrupt the very soul, and so on. We all love dramatic monologues of those abominable monsters as they take great joy from every moment of despair on their enemy's face. But what about a horror on the other side? The killer doesn't even care about its victim.
When I wrote and voice acted something called the Commissar story, and I cut it off because of some things that happened internally. But the enemy was the Tau, and there was a lot of things that was going on in there in terms of, you know, I was writing purely about like, it was supposed to be like a background story of the character that I portray in my lore videos, things like that. But there was going to be so much that I put into it as far as the way that the Tau fight and the way that the Tau go about demoralizing an opponent. But yeah, moving on.
What if destruction of Temple to the God Emperor is reduced to an image on display of Tau operator directing missiles on the points of interest? What if the only response to our protagonist's dismay and death isn't a grand monologue, but another 2 targets down, moving to Sector 8. Cowtown, can you bring me some Shara fruit from the fridge? Thanks. Pragmatic, practical, and impersonal way of waging war can be terrifying if you know how to present it.
True.
And besides, if you want monsters, monologues, and bizarre weapons, Tau Empire can provide you with all you could ever dream of in your darkest nightmares. Tau Empire is, after all, a commonwealth of many alien species, and many of them can be scary to fight. Games Workshop just needs to add more species. Groot?
Good luck with that. Good luck with that. Jesus, we've been saying that we need more Xenos in the community for God knows how long at this point. And we can't even get a unit listing for the HUD. We can't even get, like, there's so much that we just need.
Are scary enough.
But, you know, Space Marine models.
Because they want to eat you, and you don't need to be dead while they are doing so.
True.
Or worse, you can witness your friends and loved ones getting eaten alive, and you can't do anything to save them.
Right.
Vespid are underutilized, but I think that screeching Xeno insect with beam weapons and buzzing wings can be quite scary. Especially when you remember that the damn things have actual stings and claws that are as hard as diamonds. Those things can most likely dig through Astartes armor, so flak plate
Probably.
most guardsmen have won't help.
No.
Imagine guardsmen suddenly attacked by Vespid, only to be grabbed and carried into the air and getting ripped into pieces by vicious, screeching monsters. Nagi? The psychic worms?
Nope.
They can sneak right up to Imperial lines and start planting ideas into minds of guardsmen. Subtle thing. Suddenly, commissars die in accidents more often. Some soldiers charge the enemy before others give them covering fire. Some can't stop arguing with other squads. And if Games Workshop put some actual work into adding more alien species, there would be many more possibilities.
There would be, but they're not going to do
Sentient
that.
amoeba
That's what
colonies
sucks.
that sneak into the barracks in the middle of the night.
No.
Pass through every crook and cranny and then sliver inside bodies of their victims.
No.
Through nose or mouth.
No.
Only to silently clog their airways and kill them silently.
Did you have to do that? Did you have to... Ugh. I'm having enough trouble right now just talking. Did we have to go that route? I'm gonna ugh.
In their sleep. How about some insectoid ant or termite-like species digging under the Imperial lines and bursting out in great swarm to overwhelm the unexpected foe?
Now, the Tau do have one species, and I can't remember the name of it right now, so, you know, don't throw rocks at me. But it's a species of very small Xenos that they use in shipbuilding because, well, they can actually get into really tight places effortlessly. And the benefit to the species, you know, assisting them is they can build things on a micro level much more efficiently. And the thing about it is, we know them because of the codexes, but we haven't seen them. We haven't seen them used. The Tau have so many species in their, so many species. I think about, I believe the number is 12, and I'm probably wrong on that. But all of them are underutilized.
A tide of blades and guns. Aliens who, unlike Tau, do not fear melee combat, nor value their own existence. What about small, cute bird Xenos?
No.
As little sapient parrots.
No.
Cute little things.
No.
Now give them a laser pointer,
No.
which is in fact marker light to direct artillery strikes.
That's just dickish.
Suddenly, people facing Tau develop a very rational fear of birds.
Porgs.
Possibilities are endless, as are potential aliens who could join the Tau Empire. But here is the last, most terrifying thing to mention. Because all the things I mentioned above, the long-range guns, the technology that allows them to turn invisible, propaganda, psychological warfare, drones, different Xenos, all of them would be deployed at the same time. Maybe you could deal with one of those problems, but could you deal with all of them at
the
once?
same time?
How long before you go mad? How long until you develop paranoia so great you'd open fire at your own shadow? How long until great Astartes stay in the trenches and cover the proud colors of their chapters to
Doubt
stay
it.
hidden?
Doubt it.
How long until each knight and titan doesn't dare to make a step without significant escort to keep it safe? How long before you lose your faith?
No.
Now, I think that's about it regarding the video proper, but there is one more thing. I would like to extend my thanks once again to Hayden Lumpkin for creation of this magnificent art piece for my Damocles Gulf Crusade rewrite series. An Imperial Knight of House Terran facing a Domati battle psyker. A classic theme of knight fighting a dragon with a proper 40k spin. This is, I think, my favorite art piece he created as of now.
Nice.
I also must thank him for being the first to join my Patreon. And of course, I encourage you to do the same. You could also like, comment, subscribe, and ring-ding that bell. But I think that's it for today. Thank you for joining me, and I hope you enjoyed. Now, my dear viewers and listeners, remember, wherever you are, whatever you do, try to enjoy yourself while you can. I wish you most heretical day.
This is why we have virus bombs. This is why we have virus bombs. All right. See, this is why we have virus bombs. Okay. Now, a lot of what he is saying there is 100% factual. Fighting the Tau, just like any other faction that exists right now in 40k, is dynamically different than fighting any other faction. And the problem is it has not been explored to any great depths. When you have something like the Tyranids, it's an endless wave of just attack after attack after attack. When it's the Drukhari, they're attacking. When the Drukhari do hit you, it's an overwhelming strike, and the chances of you being able to repel it are pretty much non-existent. You just have to. You have to deal with it. Chaos is, well, chaos is chaos, guys. I mean, what more is there to say about it? But when it comes to the Tau, they've often been portrayed as being on par with, or being only slightly better off than their Imperial Guard counterparts. Now that, factually, and I'm just going to say it, is wrong. The average Tau is going to be equipped and fight in a manner that puts them well above your standard Imperial Guardsmen. And that, like I said, comes from the power creep of the Imperium flat out. The Imperium, if the Imperium could, they would equip their troops just the same as the Tau. But the problem is there's so many wars going on in so many different battle zones. It actually pales. It's actually quite ridiculous. In fact, if the Imperium could, there was an encounter with a group called the Interact. I don't think it was the Interrex. It was not the Interrex. It was God, I can't remember. But the technology exists for a standard human to be given power armor, and with everything that includes. Now, your typical person in power armor, like Cerritus, the Cerritus power armor, things of that nature, their abilities are just far pushed forward. Their abilities in combat, the whole 9 yards, are just massively overclocked. But the problem is, the Imperium can simply not put together that many, that many suits of power armor to distribute to Imperial Guard regiments or anything of the like. Now, could that change? I've always said that even the armor from the Fallout series would go a monstrously long way. But with as much industrial capacity as the Imperium has, it doesn't have enough to fill all of its needs. And what the Tau have right now, the Tau have a comparatively small army compared with any other faction, with the exception of the Drukhari. I think the Drukhari might actually have a smaller army than the Tau do. But with that small size has come the ability to equip them the way that they are equipped. Simply enough said, if once the Tau spread out more, that's when you'd see some major issues with being able to equip an army, especially considering the logistical problems the Tau have and the speed at which they move with the warp, which is a fraction of that the Imperium can actually do. And that's the reason that when humanity first encountered the Tau and during the first Damocles Gulf Crusade, the Tau had a very small comparative military fleet, which got subsequently wiped out during the Damocles Gulf Crusade. Most of their ships were commercial in nature. So, as of right now in the lore, the Tau can equip an army that would be an utter hellhole nightmare to fight. The problem with it is they don't write certain species worth a damn sometimes. Fighting the Tau would be a psychological nightmare, primarily because, as he said, they're very dispassionate in the way they do what they do. But fighting the Tau would be... There's several things about the Tau that need to be expanded upon, that need to be explained in more detail, that need to be explored. This hasn't been done. The internal workings of the ethereals themselves has not been done. But anyway, I've been ranting and raving. I'm feeling like crap, so this was good. The Tau are capable of being a terrifying enemy to fight on more than one level. They could be even worse to fight given the right set of circumstances. But the problem is they're written in just like in so many other cases, such as the Tyranids or, primarily the Tyranids, because the Tyranids are always written one-dimensionally. We haven't had a really good series to show what they're like on the inside. Not in my opinion, not yet. Warpugs, that was the Heretical Hatter. All of his links are going to be in the description down below. Check him out. Subscribe to him. And subscribe to me if you haven't already. And, guys, all my links are in the description down below as well as his. Oh my god, I'm sorry guys, I'm still feeling like crap. Join the Patreon or join as a member for early access, and I'm just going to sit back for a few minutes and just... Whew. I keep on trying to tell myself to take it easy. I don't know how. I'll catch you guys next time.